America utopia, take away the economy from those who rigged it. As I see it, class warfare, the only resort to right-wing doom. It's worth it. How to talk to your right-wing relatives, friends, and neighbors, and other books written by Egberto Willis. Welcome to Politics and Right. My name is Egberto Willis, your host. Good morning, Houston. Good morning, Harris County. Good morning to the great state of Texas. And of course, good morning to the United States of America. Good morning to the world receiving our signals via the magic of El Internet, formerly known as ARPANET, created by whom? Created by we, the people. We, the people. Created by we, the people. Anyway, folks, we have a lot to talk about. Today is Thursday, of course, which means it's Aquino Day. But let me just say something. There is a huge report put out by a right-wing organization, the conservative organization, the libertarian organization known as Cato. And Cato came out with and pointed out specifically that both documented and undocumented immigrants are responsible for several $1 trillion worth of net gain to the United States of America. It should be huge news. It should be huge because right now we're attacking not only American citizens, but our undocumented and documented immigrants as we speak. If we want to make a change, we are going to have news that really reveals what the truth is, what reality is, so that the fantasy, the fallacies that are out there aren't continued to be realized and metastasized in people's mind. Anyway, without further ado, we're going to head to the studio with El Señor Jacques Van Bebbe and Mayana.
Good morning, Mayana. How are you?
I'm good. Hey, guys. Good to hear you.
Good to hear your voice, my dear. It's been a while.
Absolutely. Yes. Yes, absolutely. I've just been wanting to just let people know that I was working on some Black History segments for Black History Month, and each day celebrates a different person. So if you want to, if you listen out for that.
Excellent, excellent, excellent. Talk to me, guys.
All right. Here's your topics for today. Democracy does not collapse all at once. It erodes when wealth concentrates, institutions hollow out, and public anger gets redirected instead of resolved. This episode connects the dots between Jeff Bezos gutting the Washington Post, the broader rise of billionaire-driven populist rage, and Houston's own Democratic flashpoints from ICE and PD debates at City Hall to endless Congressional District 18 elections and the approaching primary. The through line is simple. When oligarchs dominate media and politics, democracy survives only where people organize to defend it. So it's up to you, people. We got to defend it.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. Do you have your soliloquy with us today, Jack, or did you chill for the day?
I didn't write anything today.
Mayana, you have anything before we get started?
Well, just the thing that you were saying about Cato, you said that was a right-wing group?
Yeah, Cato is a libertarian organization, and as far as I'm concerned, libertarian is in fact right-wing.
Mm-hmm. Well, okay. No, I just wanted to know who the report came from. That's awesome.
Yeah, Cato, the Cato Institute. Look it up. It pointed out that the undocumented and documented workers not only are keeping social. Well, actually, let's look at the part about undocumented workers. They're keeping Social Security afloat because they pay into Social Security, but they cannot take out of Social Security.
Right.
So again, there's so many other benefits we get. Nobody wants to talk about it. So there's something that I talk about all the time, and that is racism is expensive. And when you don't understand these things, it is very expensive to the body politic. It is very expensive to us all. But anyway, El Señor, today we have from the Houston Democracy Project, the founder of the Houston Democracy Project at HoustonDemocracyProject.com. HoustonDemocracyProject.com is El Señor Neil Aquino. How are you doing this morning, Neil?
I'm doing all right. Doing all right. Good morning, studio. Good morning, audience, and all your various platforms across the globe. And we're here to talk some local Houston politics and Harris County politics, and plenty of stuff going on.
Anyway, yeah, I got the text from you yesterday with the different these pieces that you want to talk about. Since all the rave right now is the evil organization currently known as ICE and CBP, meaning the border control, whatever the hell they call that.
Right.
What's happening
Customs and Border
here?
Patrol. Right.
Customs and Border Patrol. What's happening?
Well, so we a few things. Keith Porter Sr. Keith Porter Sr. is the father of the Keith Porter Jr., who was killed by an off-duty ICE officer agent in Los Angeles, and there was some sort of dispute that they had. They both apparently lived in the same apartment complex, um, and there's different accounts of what happened. But Keith Porter, what hasn't been done is justice, an arrest, and Mr. Porter Sr. lives in Houston, and he is trying to get his story out. Mr. Porter Sr. lives in Houston, and he visited the John Cornyn Houston office protest this past Tuesday, which is something that I'm part of. Each Tuesday, 11:30 to 1 at 5300 Memorial Drive. And Mr. Porter took up a sign and was on the corner and spoke to people. And then he went to Houston City Hall and spoke at public comment time on this past Tuesday about his son and about the need for justice. And I'm told he wants to become an active figure locally, in opposition to ICE and for justice and for his son to be recalled. And so often with Preddy and Good, who were killed, often people will say, oh, don't forget Keith Porter Jr., and his father is in town, making sure that he's not forgotten and continuing to press the case for justice, for the person who killed his son.
Now, as I recall, Keith Porter was killed by an off-duty ICE officer. Is that correct?
Right. In Los Angeles.
Right, that is sad. I mean, just no justice. Um, the other topic that you wanted to talk about, I believe, was, and let me pull it up here. Para ver.
Well, there also was further conversation at City Hall, about a proposal has been to eliminate non-safety traffic stops in the city of Houston by HPD, so that, for example, if you're pulled over for a tail light, broken tail light, or tinted windows, whenever you're pulled over by HPD, or the police, they call you in, they call in your name, and if you are in one of those 750,000, I think it is, administrative ICE warrants, you're only in there for immigration in most cases. They call ICE. So there's a proposal to end the practice of non-safety traffic stops, and there certainly is plenty of red light running and aggressive driving and stop sign running that they could police that they don't. And it seemed like that issue had some momentum and at council, but a nonprofit group came and spoke at council Tuesday, and it wasn't clear that momentum was real. Council member Julian Ramirez, who's a Republican, seemed maybe he was open to discussing the matter, but basically is not. And council member Ed Pollard praised the people who came, but said, I think what you're doing, as you frame it so far, violates state law. So I thought there was some rising momentum towards that proposal, suggestion,
Time
solution.
time out.
But
How that having an ordinance that tell cops you shouldn't prioritize tinted windows is against state law?
that you got Now you have me. The gist of what I'm telling you is correct. Now, actually, I'm trying to recall if the issue was the ordinance that. Yeah. Boy, you know what? I'm confused. I'm telling you the facts, and what I'm confusing myself was it the ordinance that was the issue, or that the fact once you're pulled over that they would not call ICE.
Oh, okay, got you.
So I apologize to the listenership. That specific. I'm caught between those two things and trying to recall to the audience what the specific was, but the gist of it was that they can't that the ordinance as proposed is contradictory to state law, whichever aspect, one or both of those aspects, is contradictory to state law, and um, the momentum seemingly for that, which begs the question: if you're not going to do that, and no one has any other proposal, what will council do about ICE? What's the proposal? What's the suggestion for the city of Houston to, in any respect, address ICE?
You know, I think if I'm not mistaken, and I haven't Googled this, I think we have some sort of a state law, in fact, that forces cooperation with ICE. I can't recall the SV
There's
number.
SB4
Right.
and um, there's SB4, which is currently stayed by the Supreme Court. Um, it's currently stayed by the Supreme Court, and there is that legislation, and there has been the I'm sorry, I'm tripping up. I sat and
No,
watched
but
this, and
let me just say I went ahead and I actually pulled it up. It says Texas
yeah,
Senate
okay,
Bill SB4, largely linked to Operation Lone Star,
right.
authorizes state local police to arrest migrants suspected of illegal entry, allowing state judges to order deportations to Mexico. Critics warn of racial profiling, constitutional conflicts, and increased fear in immigrant communities, while supporters argue it acts as a necessary deterrent and strengthens border security. In other words, it's a fraud, but it's there.
Yes, but it's currently stayed.
Yeah,
Um,
that part I did see in the piece here,
well,
but
Abby
that's
Kamen keeps saying it's currently stayed, and Mayor Whitmire just responds with silence, which is his frequently tort. Um, but so that it's currently stayed is at least what Councilwoman Kamen asserts. And I think the point is, and while I'm sorry I don't have the specific that we referenced a minute ago, I think the point is, in the end, that they don't want to act. That the police union, they made clear at the discussion this week that the police union is against stopping the non-safety traffic stops. Mayor Whitmire is clearly against it. No, none of the six Republicans are for it. Councilmember Martinez, a Democrat, talks about let's not exacerbate the situation. Let's not make people concerned. Let's have cooperation with law enforcement. Um, so the 9 votes to do it of the 17 council members, including the mayor's vote, doesn't seem to be there. And Councilwoman Evans Shabazz is for it and asked, why can't we do this? And Councilman Pollard said it's contradictory to state law.
again, we have a bunch of wimps in our city council, all acquiescing to some. Well, anyhow, look. Well, before we continue, welcome aboard, Lisa Blair from Atlanta, Georgia; Harry Denson, Missouri City, Texas; Lady Bearcat, Austin, Texas; Lynette, I think from PA; Mary, how you doing? Tamar Kranick. We also have LBW, La Profesora. I love me my teachers. We also have Giger David, Tamar Kranik, Evan, Gregory David, Paul Zilk. How you doing, Paul? Great to have you here. Paul, you do don't you do the I think a weekly Zoom? Is that correct? On progressive issues. Catherine Hill, welcome aboard. She says, just reading about Ed Crane, founder of the Cato Institute, in Tom Brokaw's book about the 6 days boom. There you go. Shahagan, welcome aboard as well. Meche, welcome aboard. And of course, we missed the first few uh, people. Cheryl Elkins, our warrior in
Yep.
Massachusetts.
Hello,
Thank you
Cheryl.
for Cheryl. You're well known here. Beautiful, well known, well known. And Chris, I think that is Lutkin. Thank you all for being here. So right now we are approaching. We're at February. What is our date today? February 5th. And in the next, I think early voting will be opening pretty soon here in
February
Texas for our
17th.
February 17th. Tell us a little bit about that.
So early voting for the two primaries, February 17th to 27th, and a primary election day is March 3rd. So the endless CD18 race, Christian Menefee soundly defeated Amanda Edwards. So he was sworn into Congress. She thought it would never end. Um, Governor Abbott made sure that folks couldn't vote, delayed it as much as possible. So now, in a newly configured district, CD18, there's a three-way race. I think there's some other candidates as well. But Congressman Al Green, waving his cane. I saw him over the weekend in West University, and he was waving the cane as kind of a campaign prop. And Christian Menefee and Amanda Edwards are all in yet another go round, which will, for the new CD18, which will lead to quite possibly a runoff. Although Menefee did soundly win, something
I
like
was surprised.
66-34.
Yeah, I was surprised at that lead, given that Amanda Edwards have run in that district so often. I'll tell you, I really don't understand that vote. Again, it means it's means me no never mind because it's not my district. But I have watched Amanda work that district pretty darn hard, and I wonder sometimes, and again I don't, and again I am just pointing this out with women voters in certain communities, not with women voters, with women candidates in certain communities. That type of a race and that disparity in the voters in the vote get really concerns me with regards to women voters per se because th- they are similar candidates. They are very similar candidates. They are not real progressive. They are not very active in standing up for the things real progressives stand for. Nobody mentioned the word healthcare for all. Nobody mentioned the word basic income. Nobody mentioned the word real child care in that race. And in fact, um, I did have Amanda Edwards on, and Amanda, look, I like Amanda, but she was tongue tied when we spoke about Medicare for all. No commitment
Sure.
there. However, Al Green, who was going to be in that race, uh, I had him on about 6 weeks ago, or probably less than that, probably 5 weeks ago. I interviewed him, and he full throatedly came out and says, I want more than Medicare for all. I want Medicare for all, but I want to have it even further expanded than what 676. It's no longer 676. What it stands for, and it just concerns me that the policies that best fit that district, the policies that best fit that district, were rarely discussed. Go ahead, brother.
I mean, I think Menefee's to the left of Edwards. I think Edwards is ill defined. She doesn't bill herself as progressive, so she's not misrepresenting herself. She doesn't advertise herself as such. Menefee is really a very establishment candidate,
Right.
very well connected. A lot of the district is changed. The district is more black. There are fewer white voters in the district. Many of the former CD18 white voters are now in District 7. Lizzie Fletcher, Al Green. I saw Al Green twice over the weekend.
Hmm.
At the Chinese Community Center, and then at the Tracy G Community Center,
He's working
and
hard.
he's advertising. He's saying, "Oh, I'm." He's calling himself a teenager, right? He says he's in his fourth cycle of 19, and then he has a ponytail, and he said, "I've got the ponytail to prove it." And he waves the cane around, and and he uses the cane as a prop. He was accused at the time when he was pointing it at Trump when he was thrown out of the House chamber last year of, oh, that thing's a prop. And I got to admit, it's a prop. Maybe it's helping him walk, but it's also a prop. And he talks about he's very sensitive to a suggestion that he hasn't accomplished anything. So he says that 3 federal judges were initially his suggestion, who ultimately won confirmation in the Senate. And he talks about money he's brought home to the current congressional District 9. So he is sensitive to charges that he doesn't have a long list of accomplishments. And he talks about age. And he has some supporters. State Representative Ron Reynolds, who to me is not a strong endorsement, but State Representative Ron Reynolds has endorsed him, and the county judge Lena
I
has
didn't know
endorsed
Lena
him
endorsed
along.
him.
What's that?
I didn't know Lena endorsed him.
Yep. Yep, she endorsed Menifee, and then turned around and 2 days later endorsed Al Green.
Yeah, well,
Yep.
like I said, I am when I'm out there in the field. I spoke to Representative Al Green on Saturday at the JFF or JJR at the
Yeah.
JJR, and I was out there with him, and we're gonna have him on again probably next week or the week after uh, on this program. But it is time for us not to, as I would say, what I can say here on public radio is it is if progressives want to be real, it is time to support full-throated progressives. I mean, you can't. I see Glenn. Glenn is in the chat right now, and I think Glenn will concur with that. If you want progressive and you want progressive policies, you can't go ahead and put somebody that has machine popularity or establishment popularity and say, well, we're going to make change, because that is exactly what gave us Donald Trump. Go ahead, brother.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the concern, of course, and the concern is that Green dies in office,
Hmm.
um, as did Sheila Jackson Lee and Mayor Turner, and then Abbott holds up the process for another year.
Well, I'm going to tell you something, Neil. That is understood. Age is understood, but I'll be honest with you. If and I don't know. I want to hear
Yeah.
what these folks are going to say. I'm going to try to interview every single one of them. But the thing that I'll be frank about is, uh, leaving that seat open. If it's somebody, if he were, I think he's pretty healthy. But that said, if you're not going out there to do the things for the people, then what the hell is the purpose of the seat? That's my take.
The I'm as we talk, I'm watching the captions for the city council session on Tuesday, and the issue seems to pertain to the capacity to regulate the traffic stops.
Hmm.
That it apparently it is a. I was just focused on the bottom line and lost one and wasn't seeing the specific details, but in this one, but the issue appears to be the traffic stops,
Okay.
that inhibiting the traffic stops itself, would be. But then also the issue comes up because it's been stated over and over and over and over that once they're pulled over, the warrants, the civil warrants are. So I apologize, but as I get the sense that the hang up is both issues in this case. But to me the real hang up is they don't want to do it.
Yeah, I mean, the police union has an interesting hold on city council.
Man,
And it's I find it objectionable that they have allowed that to occur. I mean, uh, we in progressive marketing, I must admit, we screwed up in the way defund the police was marketed. The real thing was, let's not send cops over for psychological problems because people usually end up dead, right?
yeah,
Now, if there's a
yeah.
psychological issue, maybe you send people more capable of handling those issues. So instead of having all your monies going to a police force, you have your monies going to different entities to solve the problems at hand. Let the police officers stop people on the streets that needs to be stopped. Let the police officer handle places where guns are needed. But where you have, half of what police officers do likely shouldn't be done by police officers.
The that union is hard right. They endorse the Democrats as well. In cases where the Democrat is likely to win the seat, Doug Griffith, their head, his Twitter, some of the things Doug Griffith, the head of the police union, says on Twitter are really, really, really hard right. And it's just something. If you have a peaceful protest, um, you'll in Houston you'll frequently get a lot of cops, no matter how law abiding and peaceful you are, or how basic your cause is. Because at this point we're just saying we don't want a secret police, we want free elections. I mean, we're for the most basic things, rather than for the things we really wish we were demonstrating for that would move things forward rather than losing all our rights. And this guy sits there, says the most right wing things, has tremendous power. There was discussion in council this past Monday at the finance committee about the amount of overtime that the police are taking. It's crazy. There also was discussion, and the council members seemed befuddled, since the new contract, firefighter overtime has gone up significantly. That's another Republican union, and there were a lot of questions about that and confusion as to why that is. It was postulated, sort of gently, that maybe they're using that higher rate of pay and overtime to get some money. Some firefighters, and EMTs, but these public safety unions as a whole are bankrupting the city, endorsing Republicans, and the Republicans have the police union got quite a racket because they endorse the candidates who support ICE. We protest ICE, and then they get overtime. It's good work if you can get it.
Yeah, and again, we support it though, and that's what I tell the people that are listening here. Everything that Neil just said, that the police union and the fire union, and by the way, let's separate the police union and the fire union from the actual police officers and
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah,
actual
yeah,
firemen.
yeah.
Okay, because let me tell you something. Out here in Kingwood, when we had over 1,000 people at a protest, I can't tell you how nice these officers that actually were there to maintain order if the right wing showed up were. And some of them kind of gave me the wink, the wink that said, don't worry, we're not going to let those crackpots come out here and do anything. So these
Right.
are the actual officers that were out here, not the right wing police union. And again, they have power because we cede power to them. This council cedes power to them. And like I said, for the most part, we have a lot of these councils, a lot of these politicians are nothing more than adaptive wimps. And we have to elect better people.
Yeah, the I do take the officers as individuals. I've encountered good and ill. I think there's a larger question of if Abbott comes and messes with our elections, so we can't get a fair count, habeas corpus is suspended, and we're on the street. There'll be a lot of police there. So these are complicated questions, but I take them as individuals. But these unions do a lot of political and financial harm to our city and to cities across the country, and it's really Democratic voting cities. Almost all cities in this country vote Democratic, and across the country, these police unions have such a hold on local politics.
I mean, we have to remember the genesis of police in the first place, and you'll understand why. Now, I interviewed Audrey Lawton Evans yesterday, who's running
Oh, okay, yeah,
for
yeah.
she's running for city, or not city, but county um, AG,
County
the
attorney.
county attorney. And that is one of her concerns, and one of her issues is how to protect Harris County from the onslaught that is coming, that likely will come down from the state of Texas. And according to her, she'll be geared up, ready to do whatever suits needed to slow down any attempt at them trying to take over our election. But I noticed that I've heard through the grapevine that Hedspeth, the current uh,
Yeah.
what's her position?
Tanisha Hudspeth.
Tanisha Hedspeth,
Tanisha
uh,
Hudspeth, yeah.
who handle the voter rolls, etc. here, is concerned that that is something to be watched as far as,
Oh, she's
yeah,
concerned.
yeah,
I mean,
yes.
I've spoken to her personally, but just generally, she says the same thing in private that she says in public. She's real concerned. She counts the votes. Annette Ramirez is the tax assessor, voter registrar, and that too is an elected position. There are about 100 people registered at PO boxes. There are varying explanations for that, but what it wasn't
Wait,
was
wait, how
widespread
many? I thought it
fraud.
was just like 10. It was how many you said?
I think it was 100.
Oh, I swear it was in this double. I didn't
I'll
think it
look it
was.
up, but the
Yeah,
that presumes that Governor Abbott cares one way or another. I mean, if it was one, um, Abbott would be all over it.
but you see, the thing. Let me tell you what my concern is right here. They're going to look at that in Harris County, right? I want to
Right.
know, where is the money invested on the left side to go into predominantly Republican areas and do that research that, but Betancourt, I think it's Betancourt who went ahead and filed that
Yeah, there's
claim.
Betancourt who pushed the issue. Yep.
Senator Betancourt. I want to know which senators on the Democratic side is out there going into a comparable town to find out if that same behavior occurs outside
Sure.
of these cities. And those are the issues that I talk about. And this is a national thing. Republicans have all these organizations that go out and find things. If you listen to uh, uh, what's his name, Greg Palast. Greg Palast is an independent journalist who goes out there and he searches for what right wingers are doing to voters. Right wing organizations are doing to voters in these areas. And he researches, he points it out, and he does the contrast in his reporting. Now, who, uh, again, who in, let's say, Texas, that has the goods to do it. I mean, if I had the funds to pay for the things that's necessary for me to go to different counties and see how many, review the databases and see how many mailboxes there are other places, I would. But it's something that, a lot of our politicians have the money in their accounts that they can go ahead and look it up, find out how many PO boxes are in red areas, so that as soon as Abbott attempts to say, well, look, election fraud, we found 100 people who have mailboxes and that
Yeah, it was
addresses,
120.
120. Well, here's the thing. If we go out into red districts now and try to figure out if every one of those addresses are physical addresses as opposed to PO boxes, has anybody done that? Not that I've reported. So it is something I think needs to be said. I'll probably have to bring that up with a few
They are
people
they are
around.
coming. They are coming for our elections, and they are coming for our elections. That's they're coming for our elections
Well, you
here in
see,
Harris County.
what's interesting is the gerrymander that they did here in Texas, as opposed to gaining that what the win that occurred with that candidate in Fort Worth, Taylor Remit,
Yeah,
when Remit, when
Yeah,
Taylor Remit won in a very red district by 14 points, by 14 points, what that tells you is that the redistricting done in Texas, given that it had to get that redistricting done, it had to dilute Republican districts. It had to dilute Republican districts. What that means is the likelihood Texas could actually gain Democratic seats because those districts were lightened up. And with the win that Remit had in Fort Worth, my God, that doesn't speak well across the country. And
no,
you
and their
know,
Latino
Abba,
numbers are tanking.
of course,
Latino numbers are tanking. I guess people don't. I don't know why people didn't see it before because it was all there. It was all there. But I guess people don't like being show me your papers and pulled over for their brown skin. But the Latino numbers are tanking.
I wonder why. You remember that group that sang from Cuba? Uh,
Right,
I am for Trump. Well,
right, right. Mo,
she's been,
Mr. Trump, we love you. Yeah.
and she's been deported by Trump now.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Cheryl Elkin says we need to stand up, lock arms, start singing, and walk into the polls. There are many more of us than them. Channel our ancestors. You're absolutely right about that. Absolutely right about that. Neil Norfleet, welcome aboard. So yeah, I think, but what I think, it is time for us to stop. When I say us, I'm talking people on the left. And yes, even as a host, I can tell you my bias is the left. It is time for us to be active. In other words, don't be defensive. You have to be on the offense. They are checking every address right now. They have
Yeah.
turned over Texas. Listen, Texans, and this applies to several other red states, those of you listening in here. They have turned over the voter rolls to the
Yep.
federal government, right? And what that
Yep.
does is it means the federal government is going to have all these rolls. They are going to, after these elections occur, they are going to have the data to cross reference. And if they see a couple of anomalies, which is always normal when we're talking about millions
Sure.
of people, if they see any anomaly, they're going to use that as an excuse to say there is fraud in the voter rolls and come in. You have to be proactive on this. You have to find a counterpart. Let me tell you better. Every time we have found fraud in elections, whether here or Pennsylvania, the voter fraud has always been perpetrated by a Republican voter.
Yeah.
Let me
Well,
qualify that again. In fact, there was a bet between Dan Patrick and then Lieutenant Governor in Pennsylvania, who's now a senator. There was a contest between them, and Dan Patrick had to release $25,000 because he said, "Find me. I can come and find somebody who's perpetrating some sort of a voter fraud," and he couldn't. All right, let's go ahead and go to Randy. Come on in, Randy.
Good morning, Egberto.
Good morning, my friend. Talk to me.
Good morning. It's good to see y'all again. Playing with the new operating system on the iPhone this morning and figuring out how to get to you and enjoying the program. Just making sure that I was on the live program. And the problem with so many organizations not having the money to do the searches you talk about and not being able to put enough boots on the ground because our volunteer system just gets so overloaded with trying to do that. I've been working with an independent, and I will not mention his name, but he was a Republican. I got him over to being an independent, and he's trying his best. He still has a lot of Republican ideas that he falls back on because that's who he is. But he's trying to convert to the idea of independence and looking at each issue separately. And we have to look at how to get more money to do the things that we should need to do to be able to do the searches you're talking about.
I'm glad you brought that up, Randy, because here's the thing, right? And Neil can attest to this. We know of very established politicians right here in Harris County, very established politicians in Harris County who are running again, have no risk of losing, and yet you, an activist who's ready to work with people to do that kind of research, you won't see the money from them to do so. You're correct, and I think it is time that some of them are, I don't want to say shamed, but let them realize that they can't. Right now, they can win singly, but if we really want change, we have to work as a collective. And when Abbott comes to eat Harris County,
And if they, and, yeah,
go ahead.
and even in Harris County, to not
Yes,
to interrupt you too much, but to follow that line, Harris County people that have war level
war chest.
money war chest sitting there could bring some of that money to different individuals within the independent ranks or
Hey,
within the Democratic ranks, if they but or within the Republican, if the Republican happens to be one that actually votes the mind, an independent mind.
I mean, you're so right. Let me tell you what's interesting, Randy. I give the advice that I'm giving people right now is, first of all, 8 weeks before the election. In this case, you have to do it now. Well, it's too late to register for the primaries, but for the general election, I've been telling people 8 weeks before the election, check your voter registration on a weekly basis. If at any time you find a change, go re-register and report it to those of us in the independent media so we can make an issue out of it if they drop you off the rolls. That's one of the
I
advice we're given. And then we
yeah
say
yeah
30,
I just got
33 days. Yeah, let me finish. 33 days or so before the election, make sure you're still registered. If it shows you're not registered, then again, every time you look at the screen, take a picture of it so that you can show that you were registered. Then at 33 days, check again so that if you have to run and re-register, you can do it. But at that point, it's time to raise hell. So that's the important part. But the fact that I can go in and like what I did last week, I checked my registration, my wife's registrations, my daughter's registration. So you can check anybody's registration, right? The thing
yes
is,
I just did last week also.
all right. And the thing is this, Randy, given that we have access to everybody's registration, that is all they do. They pull those records and start doing cross-referencing. We should be doing the same because, like I said, every time we found voter fraud in Texas, it has been Republicans in effecting voter fraud. Every single time, that's what we found, and but yet we do nothing. But anyway, Randy, I gotta go. Anything else you want to say real quickly?
Um, Thank you for continuing the fight. It's such a fight to do that every day, and
Yes.
just set up an app that does it automatically for us.
We That would be a great
Uh,
thing. Thank you very much,
my
Randy. You have a
yeah,
wonderful
my
rest of
wife
your
and
day,
I.
my brother. All right, let's go to Donald. Come on in, Donald.
Hey, good morning. It's good to hear you admitting some stuff. Defund the police was the wrong thing to say. Now, re-educate, reform, add on to the police, that'd have been a good thing. Why the people, when you're out protesting, gotta be crackpot just because they don't agree with you? Number one, and I worry about this. Now, the people that protest in Kingwood, okay, and they go out everywhere. Please tell me those are not the same ones that used to tell me to cut my grass to a certain height, put my trash can in a certain location. I got to keep my garage door down. I can't tune my car or have my buddies come over because their motorcycles are loud or their hot rods are loud, or you can't store this here, you can't store that there, with the HOA and all the other stuff. That's not them, right?
Actually, believe it or not, let me be honest with you. Of course, a lot of them are them. I mean, let me just tell you this, right? I believe in the power of atoning. I also believe that people wake up quite often. Let me tell you, I've the HOA just got on my case because the roots of my trees are in the are coming up, and it has affected the grass, all of that.
Yeah.
And I went out there, and let me give you a joke though. I mean, this is so funny. I made the appointment to. I was pissed. I made the appointment to go see the HOA, and I was going to make an issue out of it. Would you believe that these people, when I made the appointment, they found out and knew who I was, all that good stuff. The guy described every aspect of my front yard. By the way, there's another company that does this stuff, but somehow these guys knew everything about me, right? And I found something ironic as I made my point and left. By the time I left, they were all very nice and giving me advice as to things I could do, etc. But interestingly, as I left that place, guess what I saw, my brother? A constable. Why? What did they think I was going to do? I just found it ironic. But anyhow, but yeah, let me just tell you this.
Welcome to my world, Egberto. That's what I'm saying. But yeah, and these people that did that protest where they walked off work and school and everything else.
Yes.
Let me tell you what's ironic. You know what I would have did? I'd have cut their power off. I'd have cut their water off. I'd have given them no police, no essential services, nothing, because those people working too, ain't they? Ain't the person that gets the water to your house working? Ain't the person getting the power to your house? Is the policeman out? Is the ambulance driver? All them people working. So let everybody not working. Just shut the whole thing down for a day.
We've been working on
no water, no electrical.
Believe it or not, I said we have been working on that. We are working on a national strike, but we'll let you know about that as soon as it's actually effected.
Yeah, but
let's
we gotta shut everything down. We gotta let them old people die in the old folks' home. Everything got to shut down. You got to do it
right. Sorry about that, man. Let's go to Priscilla. Priscilla, come on in. Priscilla, you're on.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning. Hello. How are you doing, my friend?
Hi, good morning. I'm doing very well. Thank you for having the show. Thank you for taking my call.
Sure, absolutely. What would you like to tell us, my friend?
So I wanted to just mention something. You guys started talking about the ballots and checking your registration. I wanted to know if you all have looked at your sample ballot. Recently, I've been voting for maybe over a decade or so, but this is the first time that I can remember seeing something at the very end. The very last 3 pages of my sample ballot have a survey, and they're worded as propositions. So I wanted to know if you had any information as to why they're called propositions, but it's actually a survey. I don't think I've ever seen anything worded like that.
Oh yeah.
Okay, Neil, can you answer that, because I didn't know
yeah, that's
that
the
they had a
party.
survey.
I can't speak for the Republican Party, although I think they have them too. Those are things that came out of the, I believe, state Democratic Party, and they are in essence surveys. They have no binding force. But there are questions that whether it was through the state Democratic Convention or the state party, whatever mechanism, they're legit, but they have no binding force, and they're frequently meant to say like, "Look, 82% of our voters support health care for all." So it's not a trick. It has no real meaning, but those are there on primary ballots. I think for both parties.
That
Oh,
answers your
okay.
question,
I don't know why I
Priscilla?
don't remember. Yeah, it
Yeah.
does. It
Well, there's
does. I don't know
no
why
great
I don't
reason.
remember.
There's no great reason to remember because it's a stunt. It's just there.
Thank you. We got to move
Right.
on. Thank you so
And
kindly for calling in, Priscilla. Yep.
okay.
Another quick question.
I did, but it's okay. If you got more calls, that's all right.
No, no,
No, go
no.
I'll
ahead.
call
Real
another show.
quick. No. Real
Um,
Go
quick.
ahead.
Real quick. What is it?
okay. I wanted to share that at our local civic club, we did have Councilmember Martinez come and speak on. We asked him specifically, is HPD at Eastside, have they collaborated with ICE? The answer was no. But I wanted to just share with you their answer. We did have HPD. We had two people there from HPD Eastside and the council member, and their answer was, when speaking to the collaboration, and they made example out of Minneapolis, and they said, we don't want to invite what's happening over there here.
Right.
And so that's sort of like their response to why they're not speaking out more. And then the police officer also said, if let's say, for example, Houston turns into Minneapolis, imagine the public safety deteriorating in Magnolia, in your own neighborhood. We're going to be over here having to deal with, and this is what he said, protesters who are lighting up cars. I don't know what he meant by that.
Priscilla,
Lighting up
Priscilla,
cars.
I got to go, Priscilla. But let me just tell you this, Priscilla. Let me just tell you
Okay.
this. That is from the police officers. That's a super terrible answer, even especially given that we constantly have
Mm-hmm.
protests, no kings, and it has always been safe. But thank you for
Yeah.
bringing us that information, Priscilla.
Right.
I
Very
really
important.
Thank
appreciate
you.
that,
But
Ms. Priscilla.
Keep up the great
Thank
work.
you so much. I really appreciate
we
that, and that echoes what they're saying at council.
exactly. Let's go.
Thank
First
you.
one,
I
Marlon
appreciate that.
Weems, my brother. Thank you, Priscilla. Marlon Weems, my brother, is in the chat. Great to have you here, Marlon. Richard, real quick.
Yeah,
Richard,
just real quick. Just real quick. Police union and fire department union are supposedly non-political, and they are, because you talk to the Black Police Union and the Black Firemen's Union. They say the same thing. One of the things that I talked to Sylvia Garcia about this also, talking to the HPD chief, that the reason why they can't do anything with city council, even though city council is pretty weak and they do everything that the mayor says, and we've seen that in the past with the civility laws, but is the state and federal law, and they're scared, they're in a bind because of state and federal law, but they do not arrest when they pull somebody over for a traffic stop. They're not supposed to call ICE, and they haven't been calling ICE on that. And that's one of the misconceived notices of the ICE involvement here. Even though ICE
so Richard, you're saying
around
Richard, you're saying that they currently don't call ICE if they make an arrest or if they stop somebody. Is that correct?
Now, ICE is in the school. No, ICE is not school district. ICE is in the jails. And that's something that we've been trying to fight against.
Okay.
So that's fighting against that.
Right, but HPD is calling. I mean, Mayor Whitmire has said that the HPD is, if they pull you over and you have one of those administrative warrants, they're calling ICE. And Sylvia Garcia, who has a very tough primary against Jarvis Johnson, she's been a prime enabler of Mayor Whitmire.
Okay, we got a hard stop. So, hey, thank you, Richard. Let's talk a little bit later.
One more quick.
Real quick.
Well, McAfee's real has real high end sponsors, and Green has it also. So it'll be a tough race, and I think Green might pull it out because of the people.
I think Green is going to pull it out. Yeah, because it's his district, actually. Thank you very much, brother. I got to get to Neil to close out. Neil, give me a closer your website and before I jump to the studio.
Houston Democracy. I want to thank all those high school students in Katy, Cleveland, A-Leaf, everywhere who's walking out. They're doing a great job. Over ICE, HoustonDemocracyProject.com, Houston Democracy Project. Thank you.
Oh, Mayana, anything you want to add real quickly, my dear friend?
She says no. I want to thank Neil for all of his work on the Houston Democracy Project and the issues he brings up. Congratulations, Neil, and thank you, Egberto.
Thank you.
Thank you, my brother. Okay, let me just say this, folks. We have a lot going on. Yes, we have a weak city council, but you know what? We have strong people. You, we, the people. So what I want to advise us all, I advise us all to engage. The police union can only be as strong as we allow it to be. The fire union can only be as strong as we allow it to be. We have the ability to neuter any single government, any single entity if we assert our rights. And not only our rights, our vote. We have to stop voting for that which we think is sexy and vote for what is going to be effective for us. It is so important for us to be responsible for our vote. So before I leave, the one advice I give again, please, on a weekly basis, make sure you are registered to vote and take a picture of the screen that shows you are registered to vote. Number 2, please, 33 days before the election, make sure you're registered. Each time if you find you're not registered, they've dropped you off the rolls, report it to independent media so that we can go ahead and amplify that message that they're playing games with the election. I got to get out of here. Love you all. My name is Egberto Willis. You can write me directly, kpft@politicsdoneright.com, kpft@politicsdoneright.com. The newsletter is at politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. Please remember Neil Aquino, HoustonDemocracyProject.com. My name is Egberto Willis. This is Politics Done Right, and you guys know how I end this baby. I am what? Out!
I left the one on one of the 1,000 islands.
Arthur Godfrey was a 50s TV and radio icon, but not such a great tour leader. You're on the sound beat.
So I row up the river St. Lawrence.